Ratatouille and Fight Club. What do you guys think about it? How similar do you think it is? Like, what do you think the similarities are?
I mean, in a sense, really, they are the same movie, just
How
eight
so?
years apart. Maybe not the same movie, but they're they have a lot of similar characteristics, really.
Like, like stuff that links them between each other? Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, like the main characters are similarly, kind of struggling against what society expects them to be and who they want to be. And even though they seem very different at first glance, they're actually very similar. They're both just run down by the life that they live, the way society has shaped their life. It's not the way they want to
Hmm.
live.
Yeah.
They got other interests.
Well, do
And
you
it
think that's the like the gaze that we're talking about? Like, is that linked to the gaze, you think? Because of
I,
like society perception and how they perceive themselves and because I know like the gaze is like mainly about like male dominant perception on the female thing, but I feel
Mhm.
like it goes a lot broader than that when it comes to, like perception of society on screen and stuff like that. What do you think?
Yeah, it's similar there, but I think it's even more ideological. It's kind of the ideology that their societies are built on is built in a negative way for them.
Right, right. That's true. So, on one hand, we got Fight Club, which is the protagonist, Edward Norton, right?
Right.
Hmm.
On the other hand, we got a rat. His name is Remy. And both of them are being run down by society because they're being told that rats have to be like rats. That shouldn't be the case because they could try to be what they want to be. They are imposed these ideologies, these ideas that they have to be a certain way or act a certain way. They have to be in this, like Edward Norton is also in a rat race of himself, trying to impress other people with his stuff or trying to just, I guess, do what is expected of a standard American. And
Yeah.
Ratatouille, well,
Right.
he's part of the, I guess you could say, it's like family, or like in a way, it's kind of like of course, it's a rat colony, but it's more like I'm gonna say something out there, but it feels like it's a gang, or like it's a,
Yeah, yeah.
like there's a certain role that he's expected to play within his rat colony. Um, and when he wants to go against that, he gets interested, in the culinary arts and human stuff. Um, his dad, he doesn't want him to go that route, because he has this idea that every rat has to just fend for themselves and live day by day instead of wondering what life might be, living, for example, for the art of cooking, appreciating what life has for you when you stop and smell the strawberries and cheese. And something really interesting that I think links these movies together is that in Fight Club, the protagonist, spoiler alert, speaks with Brad Pitt that ends up being a figment of his imagination, right?
Yeah.
And Ratatouille, I was looking at some clips earlier and looking how he too talks with a, like a piece of his imagination, which is
That's
like a
right.
ghost chef, the ghost Gusteau chef. And I thought that was real funny because at one point, I guess none of them really have any friends that want to go with them in this path. So they develop these friends for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's too out there for ideology, but I guess at one point, in order to make it out, like to break out of the idea that was imposed on them,
Mhm.
they have to help. I mean, it's hard, and they have to make their own friends or their own companions in this journey.
Yeah, they kind of both don't see any they kind of see society as a whole, so no one is able to help them like break apart from it. Like Tyler he kind of tries to do that with Marlo, like she kind of breaks his the false reality he made like with all the recovery groups and
The
stuff like
therapy,
that.
yeah.
Hmm.
And it's kind of the same with Remy and Emil because he Emil like tries to understand him and support him, but at the same time he's
Right.
like, this is kind of what we do. At some point, you gotta go along with it. And I definitely think it's part of that ideological sort of thing. Like you were saying earlier, with like directly society kind of telling them, kind of pointing out what society is, and saying like that's why you need to stay away from society. Um, like you were saying with how Remy is kind of being forced into this path, into this role, whether or not he wants to be a part of it.
Mhm.
Uh, that's specifically in that scene when his dad takes him in the city, and they go see like all the rat traps and all the stuff for killing rats, and he's showing him and he's telling him like pretty explicitly like, we're not welcome here. This is not where you belong. They just want to kill you. And Tyler kind of does that in a sense with the narrator. When they first are like starting to develop the Fight Club thing, he's kind of telling him, he gives like all those speeches. Society doesn't care about you. You know, society is trying to change masculinity. Like he has that scene on the bus when they're talking about the ads, and he's kind of directly pointing out how society's trying to mold him, which is the ideology of each character.
Yeah, like well, I wouldn't say like one of the things of like society like hates you. I think it's like the second point you just said, like a society tries to mold you in a certain
Yeah.
way. And I think that's like where the mirror stage theory by Jacques Lacan, because that's like one of the main attributes that I feel like viewers identify the most with, because it's like as society as a whole, we're all expected to do our things in life, and these films kind of explore that and go beyond that and do what society doesn't want them to do, which allows them to connect with the viewer because we all think that, we all think that
Yeah.
day to day with the stuff we do. And it's like with being at school, like, man, I want to be here. I just want to, I want to be on a film set or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
It's a
it's like,
very relatable thing, like wanting to do something and society sort of telling you like you got to do something else.
yeah, like wanting
Yeah.
and being able to is like totally like two different things.
Yeah.
And it's hard when a society puts you down because a lot of times they want you to be put down.
Yeah. And same part of that mirror stage theory, as they're kind of trying to buck the mold that society's putting on them. They're kind of trying to discover themselves and how they can fit their wants into their society. Like Remy really kind of battles between wanting to be a chef and not wanting to continue to fail for his dad, and he's trying to break out of that uh pressure from his societal pressure, but it's kind of a back and forth, like he's not set on it. And it's kind of the same with the narrator. Like at the beginning he's bought into it. He's filling his apartment with all the stuff he could ever need.
Hmm.
He's trying to be like, I'm playing in with society, I'm doing everything right, and it doesn't, it's not right for him. And it's that same sort of thing. People can relate to it and kind of watch him basically attempt to tear society down, or tear down the credit part of society, kind of rebel against society really
Right,
directly.
right.
And that's all a part of that. Like when you relate to that character, obviously you're not going to go blow up all the credit buildings, but you can relate to that. You can kind of relate to that desire, and you're watching. There's a pleasure to watching it play out. You're kind of living vicariously through Tyler Durden and the narrator as they kind of rebel against this society and the pressure of it.
Right. I think that's kind of what I mean about where the gaze kind of expands upon it a little bit more, because it's like the audience is like, like they feel like engaged, and it's like they get, like that redefined feeling from when they see all this stuff. So it's kind of like, I don't want to call it like eye candy, but it's just like the emotional responding type of thing that most people want to see but can't experience.
Yeah, it is actually that whole piece about where Mulvey talks about the gaze is about visual pleasure in cinema. And
Hmm.
that's kind of the whole idea of it, what you're saying. Like the audience is getting joy out of watching kind of what they not want to happen, but want to see what will happen.
Right. Yeah, because I feel like it's not really about the animation or like the fact that it's a rat character. It's like the story of the film is like what really drives these themes and elements,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. And Ratatouille has sort of that like underdog kind of overcoming stuff in the end, part of it too that people relate to and like to see.
Right. Was there anything you wanted to add, Jorge?
I'm thinking about it. Let me see.
They have very different messages, I feel like. Um, Fight Club is almost it doesn't really resolve society and the pressures of it. It kind of calls attention to it and exaggeratedly combats it. And Ratatouille is more, it's a kids movie, it's a Disney movie, so obviously he overcomes everything and everybody's happy, everything's great in the end. And they're very
Yeah.
different that way, even though they're both kind of pushing up against the same thing, they diverge in very different ways.
Yeah, I would say Ratatouille is like more of a external conflict with society, and like Fight Club is more of an internal conflict because it's really
Yeah.
like Tyler's alter ego wanting to do certain things a certain way, and wanting change to happen and stuff like that. So it's like his problems wanting to, with society wanting to change that versus Ratatouille's like problem with conforming with like a new society or a
Yeah.
different society being accepted and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that's a good point too. Ratatouille is more specifically physical. Like he can't the whole issue with him being a chef in the kitchen is rats in the kitchen.
Right.
That's like a big point of it. Um, and it's way more mental for the main character in Fight Club because like Tyler Durden's fully a figment created in his mind. It's more society broke his mind and kind of you watch the aftermath of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So you think like ideology and the gaze was like a good fit for these to analyze both these films?
Yeah, it has the gaze, that broader definition of it. Uh Not like the male specific parts of it. It definitely has ideology, especially with how much they play with culture in the narrative. And they have that mirror stage too. The way that they're made to encourage the audience to view themselves in the characters.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like it calls attention to more of the broader elements and deeper meanings within both films and stuff like that, and it draws the audience in more, you know.
Yeah. That's what makes I guess movies fun, having a relatable protagonist or no way.
Right. Yeah.
But even if we relate, for example, to the protagonist in Fight Club, like you guys said earlier, it doesn't mean we want to blow up a financial building or something.
Yeah.
But it certainly helps to start I guess, a conversation or ask ourselves if we're living our life the way we want it to be, or we're living it the way society has imposed us. It has to be.
Yeah, and they both kind of come to that conclusion of questioning your place in society and whether or not that's where you want to be.
Yeah, it sparks these interesting conversations we're having right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, who would have thought Ratatouille, Disney, Pixar, Fight Club.
Fight Club.
I don't know who made Fight Club, but yeah.
David Fincher, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
David Fincher, right?
All right, well, that's the synthesis project for Fight Club and Ratatouille.